Welcome to another episode of VNture podcast, your weekly source of visual goodness. I am MR, and together with Tauros, we shall venture in another discussion about VNs. Today we talk about the one cycle that, try as it might, we just can't escape from real life. The day and night cycle. Such horror. Tell us, Tauros, what VNs would you read day and night?
Yes, as much as I wish we could eliminate that too, along with our need for sleep, it is a fact of life. And in one visual novel I read, that's one of my favorites, is Nausea. Nausea is very similar to a werewolf-style forum game. There is a group of individuals. Some among them are the Nausea, enemies of humankind. They have infected some members of the ship, and it is your job, either as a human character, to root out this evil, or if you end up chosen as a Nausea, to eliminate all humans on the ship. The way this gets determined is through a town hall styled discussion. Everyone meets in the center and they hash out who they think is a likely candidate for being one of the enemies. They take a vote at the end, and whoever is voted into cold sleep is eliminated. After that, there's some time milling about, but then when everyone goes to sleep at night, this is when the Nausea strike, and they are able to, effectively kill off a human member of the crew. Everyone wakes up and realizes that they are possibly one person shorter, and then they once again have a discussion and try to root out the evil among them. And so this cycle repeats over and over until one side wins. Either they correctly cold sleep all of the evildoers, or all of the innocent humankind members get killed off and the Nausea take over the ship. So this ties in very well to the idea that MR and I are looking into of the day-night cycles in visual novels, because it ties in very much with the gameplay. During the day is when most of the player involvement occurs. In these discussions, who you target, who you debate with, who you accuse, who you collaborate with, and ultimately there's the vote, and I guess that you can imagine that as the culmination of that day's proceedings.
With, I guess, night being the result.
Yes. In fact, if you're, let's say, a human, and if you're one of the good guys, then the night phase is pretty much non-existent. You just go to sleep, and then you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
But for the bad guys, the Nausea, this is when you have the option of striking out and killing problematic humans who are interfering with you. And so for the night phase, it's very different depending on which side of the conflict your player character is on.
Because since all those times you brought up Nausea and described it from the either gameplay or narrative perspective, it never truly clicked in my head. You can be Nausea too.
Yes, there are a variety of roles. On the human side, there are some just crew members, which don't have anything special going on for them. They're just one of the good guys. There are also a few roles, such as Doctor. There can be one on the ship who can take a look at who was put into cold sleep last night and determine if they were human or Nausea. There's the Engineer, who overnight you can pick one other player, and then you can determine if they're human or Nausea. So this makes the Engineer a very powerful tool. There are two guard duties who can each vouch that the other is human. So there's a few interesting varieties on the human side, and of course, the Nausea can pretend to be some of these roles. So then it gets into a very interesting situation where if someone, let's pretend the real Doctor, stands up during the meeting and says, "Hello everyone, I have valuable information, I am the Doctor." And then one of the Nausea can also stand up and lie and say, "No, that's wrong, I'm the real Doctor."
Yeah, I see.
Things get very tricky depending on how that could play out.
Yeah, because they can pretend to have a role. Okay, I see.
Yes, so there are special abilities that can happen during the night for the good guys, the crewmates. Although things get very dicey. But the main focus is that the day is where the bulk of activity takes place. The night is more like you mentioned, the fallout from events.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a very interesting gameplay loop where you try to do your best during the day, and then the night you know, tragedy might strike, or maybe your side is successful and the game's over now. That's always the goal, after all, you know?
Yeah, that's true. For your side to persevere.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in Nausea case, to eliminate all the humans, right?
Mm-hmm. And so it leads to a very thematic difference. Especially when you tie in the whole usual aspects of the day being like clear and truthful and in the light, and then the night is the mysterious, dark, scary stuff.
Yeah. Huh.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, in Nausea, there is an overarching plot, and then you can also just free play it as much as you'd like, and then there's all sorts of other different character interactions. But at its core, I think it very much balances the whole day and night aspect very well. Very interesting comparison.
I can imagine how the story is progressed more or less. I can imagine character interaction. I even can imagine you being the Nausea.
Gasp! I'm not the Nausea.
game. Completing the game sounds to me like, oh god, you have to more or less cover all the permutations and variants. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot. It's the kind of game you replay over and over many times. It's a usual playthrough will end at around 100 loops.
What?
Yep. And so, obviously, for some people, this would be more of a slog. For others, like myself, who really enjoy it and could just play it in my free time, I'm on, like... I bought it on Switch, and then I bought it on PC, too. So, all in all, I'm somewhere around 500 loops played.
Okay, I see.
But yes, each individual game and each individual day-night cycle all ties into something bigger as a whole.
But I have a scary question to ask. I don't know if I want an answer, but given that you're around 500 loops, did you complete the game?
Yes, twice over.
Oh, okay. So, I really did not want to hear no.
Oh my goodness.
Right? You see my point?
No. Yes, absolutely. This isn't like one of those world-building video games. No.
Okay, so there's not that many permutation and changes. Okay. It's human finishable, completable. Okay.
Of course it is.
Okay. Well, recently I spent quite a lot and still am playing Baldur's Gate, so just having an gameplay loop you really vibe with, that you return to experience those thematic ties, back and forth story gameplay. I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good comparison. Baldur's Gate also has gameplay that can be surprisingly in-depth.
True.
So yeah, hey, I would definitely recommend Nausea to everyone. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I very much enjoyed it.
Okay, with that sass recommendation of yours. Okay, I had to, okay? I had to throw one in. Okay, I had to throw one in. I had another example I recently talked about in previous episode. So for our day and night cycle discussion, I brought up again Nyan Cafe Macchiato. Specifically from the story perspective. And just to briefly recap, this is a story about unlucky part-time teacher protagonist who temporarily runs cafe and dreams of being a full-time teacher. He has to balance out his day job of teaching with later in the same day job of running cafe until late night. And those transitions between him being a part-timer in the school to him being, I guess, a second part of that time running cafe, and then having closed off those cafe, it just vibed with me really well with the story itself. You can see how sometimes he has some errands in the morning in the school, after which he's done, but his students are not. So he goes back to cafe without those students helping him out. Then you see him managing the cafe when they finish their classes and join him, or if they have some extracurricular activities that they can't. So he has to manage without them. And like this, it might sound like an excuse or just a very slight justification for the events, but it just so enough for me to say, yeah, you know what, it works in this game. Yes, he has 2 jobs. Yes, he has to balance out. Yes, that means sometimes on the weekends he has to run the cafe still, as most restaurants do. And it affects him. Yes, he has some of the mornings in school. But then again, he can't run restaurant in the mornings. Except for weekends. So, and everything is all about that cycle, especially when you reach a point in the story when he just can't keep bringing all of the trio that helps him. He has to make a shift rotation based upon their classes and special lectures after that.
One thing that's catching my eye here in the screenshots that are scrolling across in the video is that there's one CG of the front of the cafe, and there's like 7 variants of it for the time of day. Like one in the early morning, and then another in the harsh noon sunlight, another in the afternoon, and then like the evening, and then nighttime. And it's the same angle and all the same details and stuff, all that changes in the lighting. But that really does a great job of giving a different mood and really setting the scene. Just as small as that, like you mentioned with the time of day.
Exactly. This was probably the easiest screenshot that reflects those changes, because others, for example, inside the cafe itself, also has some variation, whether or not it's late at night outside or still decently in the noon, or maybe is late evening. But it's not as easy to compare as I did those screenshots manually from the outside of it, because it is a static image that has slight changes, and you see everything well adjusted to the time of day. From inside, there's too many variants. Other characters sit, maybe there's less clients. So I gathered the best screenshot to represent how they try to have an attention to detail to the time of day that is currently. It was the easiest for me to showcase. I tried to have some inside the cafe, but again, I don't think it gives that big of an impact comparatively.
Yeah, no, simple and effective.
Yeah, exactly, simple.
Especially when you have something that's as narratively focused on the day-night cycles. I mean, I just talked about Nausea, and that was entirely gameplay-wise. But this is like, as far as the story takes you, you can feel the different ebbs and flows.
Yep.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yep, exactly.
So on that note, I'm going to have to take things back into the gameplay side of things.
Oh, yeah.
About the title Valhalla. It's called Valhalla, but it's spelled out like VA-11HALL-A. It's like that because this takes place in the sci-fi future where the main character is a bartender at a bar designate with that naming designation, and everyone calls it Valhalla because, it looks like the word.
Yeah.
So even though it's set in the future, you are just a normal person working as a bartender, and you get all sorts of interesting guests telling you their life stories and what's going on in their day and the unique struggles they're facing. But as for you, Jill, just trying to make enough money, working her job to go home, pay her bills, maybe decorate her place a little, and then scroll on her phone for current news. But since it's gameplay focused, we also have a very nice day-night cycle here. During the day, she's working at her job, and you can craft drinks yourself. There's like 5 different elements, and you have your, book of recipes for all the alcoholic drinks you can make, of the different flavors and the different alcohol contents and whatnot. So when the customers ask you for certain drinks, you can just easily make it for them. Some of them will get a little harder, asking you, hey, can you give me something sweet? And then you gotta look up. It's like, okay, what's a sweet drink I know? And you can make something for them, and hopefully they'll like it.
Yeah, don't forget orders such as, give me something manly. Like, what the hell?
You're like, okay, you're gonna be a pain in the ass, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And the better you do, the more money you get, and the more money you bring home. And so the night cycle is really just kind of a quick breather in between all of the player-intensive stuff, working your bartending job. At the night, you basically just make sure you have enough money to where you're on track to paying your bills, and you just kind of surf the web a bit. And honestly, for you, the player, these night sections will probably only just be a few minutes long.
I mean, it depends how much you like reading the newspapers, etc. Because there are some of that, if you into that. But even that doesn't last as long as a day cycle. Right?
Exactly. The day cycle, though, those are the segments that could easily take like half an hour.
Oh god, yeah.
Or probably longer. Just as you get new customers and they talk to Jill and you talk to them, and there's some funny events and your boss gets involved, and because this is the bulk of the title. Valhalla is very good at introducing all the cool characters that live in this world and getting to know them. And so of course that's the focus. That's on the day side of things. Just like how real life, a lot of interactions will be during the day, and then you can go night, and that's when you recharge your batteries and chill.
Yeah, exactly. You go scroll on your smartphone, chill out, maybe read an article or two, and that's it.
Turn in
ready for the
night.
next day. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So like even in futuristic sci-fi fictional visual novel stories, you still get a human element in it,
Yeah, it is. It is very relatable. Yeah, I really like those somber moments after a day full of slinging drinks left and right, especially on those people who intentionally or not give the vaguest of orders. Oh my god.
Yeah, thankfully, most people are pretty cooperative and they tell you what they want, or they're very understanding. It's just, anyone who worked customer service knows there's just always a few, jerks who just gotta be as difficult as possible. And you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, like, can you just specify, please?
Yeah,
Not play 5D mind puzzle with me.
This is supposed to be a video game. I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, Valhalla is another gameplay example of there being day and night cycles, and I think there's a very good thematic difference between the two, so I'd also recommend this. It's a good game.
Yeah.
Very popular.
I wholeheartedly recommend it too.
What about you, MR? That's about all I've got to say on this.
Yeah, you brought something with day-night cycle and gameplay, so I had to. Okay, I had to bring something else to the table to match your energy. Okay. Surely, what matches your energy is reverse isekai.
How is that any different?
Yami's Revenge. It's a story about a protagonist forming a pact with Demon Lord. Kind of reverse isekai. For one reason or another, to normal Japan, a demon lord from another dimension escaped. He finds his edge equivalent in that world and forms a pact of survival. He will grant him special powers. In turn, the protagonist will help him fend off heroines from another world. And therefore, during the day, you as a normal high school boy going into high school shenanigans, look for clues. Who might those heroines be? Surely they won't be the characters you already know from school, right? Wink. Wink. Mm-hmm. So you go around asking people about some strange happenings and you have a suspicion. Meeting those heroines at night. You might know that person from somewhere, somehow. And then the night ends, the event with heroine ends, so you were successfully driven out or you won the battle, you go back to the day, and then you search for clues. Because in a true edgy fashion, with the dark fantasy, you need to find their weaknesses and break their spirit. And that's pretty much the gameplay loop. So you are kinda a edgy detective during the day, and during the night you try to exploit the weaknesses you got from the investigation.
Okay, so you don't see any screenshots of it, but there are gameplay elements of this?
Yeah, the gameplay was... It's hard... It's kind of hard to catch the gameplay, because it's very time-based. This is not something that is often done in VNs.
Interesting.
I think it's Final Fantasy that this had this system of active time battles, that you had a progress bar of skills that auto-cast themselves when fully ready, then the other, something like that. It's hard to explain without running video.
I see. So it's still turn-based, but people's skills and tactics and whatever all recharge at different times, and whenever it's full, they take effect, or... And that's, because I'm aware that's what the Final Fantasy games used to do back in the day when they pioneered the system, and you're telling me that for Yamizome Revenger, it does something similar?
Yes, exactly. It's very hard to call it turn-based when there are no turns, unless you count, I have already skill to be your turn. Because in essence, it kinda is. I have skill ready, so I fire it off. Do you have a skill ready? Yes, you fire it off. So I guess this constitutes for turns. Then you use magic spells to bind those characters, and then the game progresses.
Okay.
That's pretty much the loop.
But you said that for during the day, it's more investigative, and you try to exploit weaknesses?
Through talking with those characters, how can I best describe it? You first need to investigate the identities. And you pretty much early on, you as a player, with the help of some superpowers from Demon Lord, you understand which character, the heroine in Night, is which character the anime girl walk in school, right? So you approach them and stalk. And look for anything you can exploit during the battle. So for example, some phobia they have. So you could incorporate that into your attacks. Those kind of weaknesses. Some don't like loud noises, for example, this kind of deal. And that anything that gives you an edge in battle, because there are phases during the gameplay in which you use taunting. So first they fight, then you taunt and they taunt you back, and if you can trigger shaken up their mental state, you can take a better position in battle. That's the point. Whether or not it's being with skills themselves, or whether knowing what to say when, this is from the day cycle, what you investigated and know about them.
Okay, so that's also where the visual novel segments come in.
Yes.
I see.
Similarly to some dating sims, you have to pick characters on different stages of the day, being the morning, being the in the before classes, during the classes, after classes, and then it's night.
No, yeah, that is definitely dating sim-esque.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, with the twist of not necessarily trying for the affection, rather though investigate the weaknesses.
Yes, the opposite of love.
Yep.
I was actually, it was hard for me coming up of visual novels to use for this topic because pretty much every dating sim has the whole day-night cycle as an essential part of its core gameplay. And I was like, oh, well, we can't really dive into that, though. That's a little bit different than what's expected with visual novels.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, this is just close enough but different enough that maybe it shows what it's about, the cycle.
Exactly, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fun. It's weird how they use... It's hard because I'm not going to justify using things people are terrified of to heal them of that phobia, but this is one of the techniques in which psychologists heal people. Is you have to brace the thing you fear in order to overcome it, and this is quite a repeating pattern in this game. A lot of characters develop because they stand up to what previously terrified them.
Yeah.
And then you need more weaknesses because this no longer works.
Oh no. It's very weird that you investigate these to take down the villains, because usually you get to know more people and that's associated with getting closer to them, right? And you want the character growth, the happiness of overcoming your fears, and you're like, no, we need to abuse those fears.
I specifically said heroines because they are heroic antagonists. You're the villain.
Yeah.
That's the twist to the formula.
So overall, did you like Yamizome Revenger?
Yeah, it was fun. It was quirky and more on the comedic side. It's probably not for everybody, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It had a lot of endings. I liked it.
Super cool. Then I'll go... I guess I will talk about one last title that we're both very familiar with, huh?
Let's go with the bang!
And that is Hate Plus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, Emar. Hate Plus is the sequel to Analog, a hate story. A story that was about sci-fi ship... I'm actually... You, the main character, were driving a ship through outer space and you came across the ruins of a ship called the Monka. And you discover old audio logs and you investigate the very warped and messed up culture that was on the ship and what eventually led to the ruins you see today. And part of that involves investigating these documents with the help of two AI characters. One was Hyune and the other was Mute. The sequel is called Hate Plus, and it's about you once again investigating how things led up to the events of Analog, a hate story. So in a sense, this is more like a prequel. There's a lot...
I really love how creative that was. It's a sequel about a prequel.
Yes, yeah, it's even though it's a sequel, you're going through a whole bunch of documents about the prehistory, so it's timey-wimey is a little messed up.
Yeah, but most prequels, right, don't take knowledge of the present into it. Outside of, obviously, the viewer. But here, viewer is involved, viewer has those AI companions, and both of those parties know what transpired in the previous title, meaning the future result of what you're investigating now, which is the past, which is a prequel.
Well, that sort of thing happens when the bulk of gameplay from both of them is investigating logs.
Yeah, true.
But yes, so the important part, why I am bringing it up here today about the topic of day-night cycles, is because you can only play Hate Plus for a certain amount before you are forcibly put on a break. I believe the game rationalizes it as your ship has low energy and needs to recharge after you unencrypt some files. But yes, you, like in real life, need to wait 24 hours before you're able to progress with the story.
Yep.
So in a way, this very much creates your own real-life day-night cycle, where you have the day aspect of where you get to investigate these logs and think about what you're reading, and then you get forcibly put to sleep and you're told to wait. I personally liked it. It was a pretty unique way. There were many other readers who were not appreciative that you bought a visual novel that you wanted to enjoy, and then you're getting told to put it down and just do something else.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Which also makes sense. It's a very complicated issue. That's usually why you don't see games do this to you.
yeah. This is the VN that taught me how to change my system time every time I saved.
Yep, that was very common. People were like, okay, so this is how you go into your computer and you change the date to trick the game.
Yeah, I did it. I just now, especially after completing it, at that time I understood why. But in the moment when I sit down, I want to read VNs. Surprise! I want to read VNs. I know everybody's shocked, but please, game, don't tell me what to do and not to do with my free time.
For some people, this 24-hour wait limit was much more obnoxious depending on the kind of life you lived. Depending on when you could get your free time, and then it was like, God damn it.
That's true. Sometimes you just have the time slot reserved and you want to use it up. Or the thing you wanted to read. And more egregious than that, sometimes you didn't have the full time to utilize it. So you save it in the middle of sequence of reading, then resume, and the game says, oh, no, that's enough. After the fact, no, see you next day. I'm like, what?
Yeah, the 24 hours started counting down from specific specific points in the VN.
Yeah.
So if you happen to stop reading 2 minutes before you reached one of those points, you'd come back, read for 2 minutes, and then get kicked out for 24 hours.
Probably that was the worst feeling.
Oh, dear.
Very unfortunate. Now, I need to have a disclaimer. I did not like it, but given that I completed it, I understand its purpose, because there's a specific one topic they did really well with that. I understand what they wanted to achieve. It was very novel of them. I don't know how to make it not frustrating. I don't know.
Typically, if you want to show the passage of time within a work, you just do that through your literary methods. You can just write the characters hanging out and time passing. You don't need to forcibly make the reader wait a full 24 hours to convey to them the passage of time. I mean, plenty of books do it. Like I just mentioned the other week, Little Busters is doing a great job of really making me feel every minute of every day of a high schooler's life. I do think that was kind of a lazy way to go about it, but it was unique, and we're still talking about it many years later. So, in a way, I guess that helps the VN accomplish its goals.
Yeah, true. I mean, for all as much as negatives I said, it is definitely unique. And something we could discuss whether or not we could improve and what we would do instead. Like you said, for example, narratively say, yeah, the day passed, continue on.
Yep. Which is a shame, because I definitely felt that Hate Plus improved on many flaws the analog A Hate Story had. It was a very much improved sequel, and I really liked it, and so it was very disappointing to just get told stop reading, because it's like, oh my god, I really like this, I want to. It's man. It was a
agree.
shame.
Yeah.
But so on that note, on that very interesting ploy of making the reader experience day-night cycles, that's an interesting VN to end our discussions about.
Yes, that's true.
So thank you to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we are always welcome to hear any comments or questions or improvements for what we could do, especially upcoming topics, anything that you or others might be interested in. So give us a shout. Thank you everyone for listening.